name is Melissa and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the 10 books that I read in the month of May. So all of these are romance books in some way, shape, or form, whether that be dark romance, fantasy romance, just straight up romance. I have it all. I do love a good romance, obviously. I read 10 books in this month. That's actually half of the total books that I had read to date this year. I have a couple books to talk about, so let's go ahead and get started. The very first book that I read this month was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. This is very popular, very well loved, and definitely can completely understand that. This was the book that I picked up because of Book Talk, BookTube, whatever that case may be. I devoured this. This is the first installment of a series, and this centers around Peyton, who is exactly what the title says, powerless. In a world where having certain powers is beneficial, to the fact that if you do not have any powers, you are actually killed off. So, needless to say, she has to figure out how to live in a world where people are pretty much going to be out to get her, and she ends up saving the life of Kai, who is the prince. She doesn't know it's the prince, and she ends up getting picked up and put into these trials, basically. And this is such a fun YA, I mean, I guess it's a little, was there spice? I can't even remember, but I love this. I devoured this. This was the catalyst in my love of reading again. So that being said, yeah, I gave this book 4 stars. The ending, very heartbreaking, but I wasn't that attached to a certain character, so I wasn't like too upset, but I feel like with the novella, I'm gonna cry. So yeah, definitely highly recommend this book. It was a super quick read. I just flew through it, and yeah, can't say good enough things about this because of the fact that it like started my love of reading again. The second book that I read is called Heartless Heathens. This is a Why Choose reverse harem romance. I thoroughly enjoyed this one. This one has to do with like religion, and if that's not your cup of tea, maybe stay away from this. But I believe this is a Hunchback of Notre Dame retelling, very loosely. So our main girl, she doesn't remember anything about her birth parents. She grew up in this tower, this bell tower at this school. It's set in a dystopian society where the church has taken over, shall I say, and the person who has kept her locked away in this tower is like this really high up priest slash pope guy. And yeah, she ends up, you know, longing to be free, and these, I want to say it's 3 guys, end up moving into the bell tower at the school where she's at. Obviously, you know, she needs to figure out how she's gonna live, steals food, and gets caught, and it goes on from there. This book is a little bit on the darker side, but I had so much fun. But like I said, if you're kind of like, ooh, I don't know about the religion aspect, maybe not for you. It had some fun scenes where our main character goes to a mall, but there's like a secret entrance to like another part of the mall that's like underground, and anyways, I thought that was really fun. But like I said, gave this book 4 stars. Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I devoured this book. I read it in 2 days. This is a chunky book, okay? And I ended up reading it on Kindle Unlimited, but I picked up the physical copy because I just loved it so much, and I want to go back and annotate this book because I just loved it. This is a, I would call it more new adult romance. This follows Johnny and I believe, what's her name? Shannon. So Johnny and Shannon. Johnny is this popular guy who plays rugby, and which is really interesting because I don't think I've ever read a rugby romance. This deals with heavy topics of abuse, so read your trigger warnings before going into this, and a lot of scenes of this book are really kind of difficult to swallow with those scenes in it. So she faces abuse at home and at the school, so she ends up getting transferred to a new school, which is where she meets Johnny. And like the first day she's there, she gets hit in the head with a football or rugby ball, sorry. And yeah, kind of goes from there. But like I said, this was so good. I devoured it super, super quickly. And I am in the middle of the second book, but I need to finish it because I really want to know what's going to happen. I gave this book 5 stars, so well deserved, and just tugged at my heartstrings and all of the above. The next book I read on Kindle Unlimited is called Little Stranger. So this is a shorter book. It's very taboo. It is like a step-brother romance, I want to say. Not foster, but like step-siblings. And basically he is like obsessed with her, and like just, it's very dark, and it has like a stalking aspect, but like I liked how you get most of her point of view in the beginning and it switches later on, and then you get more of his. So that was really fun to read. I definitely enjoyed it. I did give it 3 stars, but it is a book that I keep seeing on Book Talk, and it was interesting. I had a good time with that one. Romantasy, which you've probably seen this everywhere, The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. This is the first book in, I believe, a duology, that's what it says, but I know that another book is coming out, so I'm not sure if it's following the same characters. This, I ate it up. So I ended up losing power at my house, so I didn't really have a lot to do. So I picked this book up and I just devoured it. So this is trials with vampires, but the vampires have wings. So again, another trial kind of thing, but this is a girl, she is human, and so again, doesn't have any powers, but she ends up getting raised by this vampire king, and he basically kind of like molds her into this person who has to survive by her wits, and it's a very dangerous place to be for her. And she ends up going into these trials so that way she can win a favor from the god. This is really just fast-paced. The like slow burn was so good, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. What did I give this? 5 stars. I give this book 5 stars, obviously. So I ended up picking up the second book, and I hope to read it very soon. Flawless by Elsie Silver. This, I believe, is on Kindle Unlimited, but I ended up picking up the paperback copy. I ended up picking this book up for a video recently, and it was for reading tropes that I don't normally would go for, and this would be a small town cowboy romance. But needless to say, I ate this up. This I read in a day. I annotated it. It was chef's kiss. So I love Rhett. He just like is so amazing. He's our main male character, and he was or is a like bull rider, but he is a reformed bad boy-ish. And basically he does something that ticks off his sponsors, and he ends up having to basically get babysit for 2 months with his agent's daughter. So she has to go there and live with him, so you have forced proximity and all of that. There's the one bed trope in this book if you enjoy that. And yeah, I really liked Summer. She was just such a great female main character. It's a dual point of view, and like I said, ate this up, read it in a day. And I mean, it's not a short book, but the chapters are super short and the writing is really fast paced, and it was just the best amount of steaminess. And I don't know, I just don't know how anybody can beat Rhett, but I heard that the second book is really good and maybe even better than this one. Next, I have Elle Kennedy's Girl Abroad. This is a new adult romance. Our main character, she's in college. Her father's a famous rock star, and he's very overbearing and doesn't really let her get out into the world and do too much because he's done it and seen it all. So she ends up applying to go live in London and live there abroad for a year to study. And I think the aspect of the studying was more interesting to me than the romance. This is another book that I read for Reading Tropes I Hate. This book has a love triangle, and it's not just like, ooh, like a little cutesy love triangle. No, this is like a love triangle. And I just, I don't know. I just don't know if this is the author for me. And I've seen a lot of mixed reviews about this as well, so I know I'm not the only one. But our main character, she ends up moving to London into a house with 3 guys. She thought they were girls, ends up staying there because, you know, what else is she gonna do? And one of those guys is her love interest, as well as this other bass player who's the bad boy. So I don't know. Gave it 2 stars. Baking with Benefits by Lily Gold. This was so much fun to read. This is like a rom-com reverse harem why choose book. So don't let this like happy-go-lucky cover fool you, because it is spicy. Okay, so our main character, she was bullied, didn't have a lot of friends in high school. She has like a set of lists and to do, and never really kind of ventures out from that. And she has 3 guy friends that actually live in the same apartment building across the hallway from her, and they have a podcast. So in order to help her basically get second dates with guys, because she can't get enough, like she gets the first dates but can't get the second dates, and so they decide, okay, we're gonna help you out. So they end up having a segment on the podcast as like basically kind of fake dating, teaching her how to date. And oh, so good. The 3 guys end up, you know, obviously dating her. They have been in a poly relationship before, so like that was kind of interesting. And their podcast, like what I found cool about this book was like every other, you know, chapter or so, there's like a transcription from the podcast, and just their witty banter was, I loved it. I ended up giving this book 4 stars, and yeah, definitely want to pick up other books by this author, and they are on my TBR. This Sinner by Chantal Tessier. I probably am pronouncing that wrong, I'm so sorry. This is a chunky book, and I read this in 2 days. Yeah, she's a big girl, but I enjoyed it, and I definitely bought this one for the cover. So this is a standalone dark college romance. This is the 2nd book in like the series. I started The Ritual, which is the first one, maybe last year before, I don't even remember, but I started it, never ended up finishing it. But I've heard really good things about this series, so I ended up picking this one up, and I'm so glad I did. This definitely has a lot of issues with dealing with like abuse and grooming and other things like that. So if you are not into dark romance, like, or check your trigger warnings rather, is what I wanted to say. This one, I mean, I didn't know a thing going into it. The only thing that really just I couldn't get behind is like the secret society part of it. Like that part doesn't really make sense to me, but I obviously loved it. I ended up giving this book 4 stars, and I want to continue on with some of the author's other works because this was good. The last book that I read for the month of May is Dark Fae. This is the first book in a reverse harem series that is part of the Zodiac Academy world. I didn't like Zodiac Academy, but I figured, I was like, well, you know, why not try the reverse harem part? This is actually set 5 years before the Zodiac Academy. I ended up starting this book a while ago and kind of did a soft DNF of it and decided, okay, well, I'm gonna pick it back up and give it a try. I had to push myself to finish it. At the beginning, I was like, okay, this is really good. I'm enjoying this. You have dragon shifters, lion shifters, like, I don't know, he's kind of like an angel, he's called a harpy. I don't know, I was digging like all of that aspect, but then like, I don't know, something about it, I just don't think that this world and this writing is for me. So yeah, I ended up giving this book 2 stars. Alrighty guys, thank you so much for watching my May reading wrap up. Again, I am just so happy to be back into reading again, and I've done a lot of like annotating books, and I've been really enjoying that. So if you have any book recommendations or read any of these, please let me know in the comments down below, and I hope you have a wonderful day and happy reading. Bye.